Wellness, the show that's designed to keep you healthy from a TCM and Western medical perspective. I'm your host, Stephen Weathers. Well, obviously today our topic is children's health, specifically immunity, how to prevent colds and flus from coming. So with me today are two medical experts, one a TCM expert, Dr. Daisy Chung, and the second is a Western medical doctor, Dr. Maya Chopra.
Dr. Chopra Maya is an academician of pediatrics and children's health at the Royal Australasian College of Physicians. She's also a clinical geneticist in the Human Genetics Society of Australasia. Dr. Chen Yan has received her 7-year master's degree in TCM from the Shanghai University of Traditional Chinese Medicine. Previously, she worked in the Shanghai Shuguang Hospital and Huadong Hospital. Miss Gu has 2 daughters. The eldest is 9 years old, while the younger one is 5. Both girls have allergy problems, which bothers Miss Gu.
因为我2个小宝宝都是出生就是有过敏体质嘛，原来他接触的人少，他进了幼儿园以后，别的小朋友有一点感冒，他就很容易过的。所以我想问一下，中医和西医有什么办法可以提高他们的免疫力？
Our topic today is children's immunity and how to make it stronger. So if a child has a low immunity, what's the problem from a TCM perspective?
小孩子呢，他是处在一个至阴至阳的状态，这个至就是小的意思，就是他们无论是阴阳，他的能力或者是他们的身体抵抗力，都是会处在一个比较低的状态，所以他们更容易受到一些风寒暑湿燥火啊等等这些疾病的侵袭。那么他们作为一个自己抵抗力表达的方式，就会发烧。所以说，疾病的状态，小孩子感冒、发烧其实是一个比较正常的状态。
After children start school, contact with others is unavoidable. And this is a constant source of worry for many parents concerned about their children's health. They're afraid their kids may contract communicable diseases.
好热啊！我想吃冰淇淋了。那么热，你还穿这2件？
Summer has yet to arrive, but Yellow and his classmates are already wearing t-shirts. Despite the warm weather, when Yellow returned to class, he developed a cough and light fever. Is that caused by his low immunity?
Dr. Maya, what about you from a Western medical perspective? What causes fevers in young children? Is it a low immunity?
I think this is a great question because children get sick and parents worry. They see their children getting coughs and colds and taking time off school and they wonder, is there something wrong with my child? Is my child's immune system working properly? And the answer is that in the vast majority of cases, children's immune systems are working very well and in their interests.
Okay, even when they're getting colds and flus and fevers every few weeks, it seems sometimes.
It does, absolutely, particularly in winter. But the vast majority of time, this is normal. In fact, if anything, developing these infections protect our immunity. And that's because when we encounter a germ, a bacteria or virus for the first time, we mount a response. And that's why as teenagers and adults, we don't get sick as often. It's because of all of the infections that we've encountered during our childhood.
Basically, there are 2 major ways to treat children with colds and fevers.
头疼不舒服。
有38度，妈，哎，宝宝发烧了，38度，宝宝发烧了，哎呦，快点，快，宝宝起床，走，奶奶送你到医院去。你要注意一点的呀，我带孩子从来没有生病，宝宝对不对？你看你妈妈。
我不要打针，我不要打针。
哎呦，妈啊，医生说了不用打针。哎，我说你怎么跟妈妈打啊？现在打了针以后，高烧退的马上就下去了，我们回家啦。
The first family chose to put their child on an IV drip. Now let's take a look at what the second family did.
哦，38度了，烧得这么厉害。妈，宝宝发烧了，是吧？还快送医院吧。快呀！38度应该还可以啊。家里头那个芳宝贴拿过来给他贴一下。
The second family chose to use a fever patch to lower the temperature in a physical way. The 2 families chose different ways to treat children with a fever. Which way is correct? Let's turn to our doctors to see how to treat children's fever in a right way.
对于中医来说，其实小孩子如果发烧的话，那首先我们可能也不急于用一些药物治疗， 首先我们应该让他的免疫力自己发挥一段时间的作用。所以中医治疗的一个就是，先看一看情况，看看小孩子是不是有其他的兼佳症状。如果说他有其他的兼佳症状的话，那可以运用一些中药的方法，运用一些小儿推拿。
你也说是有一个推拿的方法，
对，
你可以简单介绍这个。
我们正常的大人体是有14条经络的。但是对于小孩子来说，他的经络都是通往手的，所以小儿推拿就是基本上是在手上和面部做一些推拿，通过这样子来刺激我们的免疫力，可以让我们把病邪驱除出体外。对中医来说呢，小儿推拿是非常行之有效的方法。那么就如果说我们经常去清一清他的肺经的话，对于小孩来说，他的免疫力就会强一点。这个手指头呢，我们称之为肺经。如果说您在外面看到小孩子清肺经的话，专门就是指这个地方。那么我们一般先抹一点痱子粉，整个的给它涂满。然后呢，清肺经的时候，它是从我们的指尖往我们的指根部推，不痛哦。然后这样子一般的话推100次。这里痛吗？痛。像小孩子说，如果容易感冒的话，他的肠胃功能我们也稍微要兼顾到一点。脾经呢，就是我们的大拇手指头，因为我们是先就给小孩涂满这个痱子粉，因为我们呢是要起到这个补的作用。清呢是这样直推，补的话呢是旋推，对，这样画圈。一般我们选择顺时针方向。补的话要时间长一点，可能要补300次。好，推完之后，然后我们要散一散寒气。散寒气推哪个穴位呢？我们的合谷。可能大人也知道合谷穴在哪里，就是在这个虎口的位置。小孩子手也很小，基本上这样一拿，整个合谷穴都可以拿到。那我们用这样轻轻的按揉50次。对于人体来说，肺是在这样一个位置嘛，那整个肺在体表上的投影都给它擦热了，也很重要。同样多抹一点痱子粉，宝宝也抹一点。对，我们先擦背，同样是这样，就是整个肺部的一个投影。最后这个动作呢，一般要放到最后做，因为可能会有一点痛，孩子会有一点挣扎。这个位置是整个沿我们的肺经走一遍。其实，如果说小孩子在发烧的状态，那么建议他并不需要过多的吃一些什么东西。最主要的呢是一些简单的营养补充，比如说米粥、米汤这些好消化、好吸收的营养，让他们的肠胃处在一个比较好的休息状态，这样他们有更多的能力可以去抵抗外面的邪气。
Dr. Maya, from your perspective, what are some ways we can treat fever when our children have colds or flus?
So I guess there are two issues. One is how to treat the fever, and two is how to work out what the cause of the fever is. With regard to treating the fever, a fever is not going to harm your child. A fever is a sign that you have a healthy, perfectly working immune system. Sometimes, however, fever can be very uncomfortable, and in those situations, it's very reasonable to give your child something to lower the fever, Panadol or Nurofen. There have been concerns about giving children baths and not giving children baths. I understand that's been discussed. And certainly in previous times, baths were used to actually bring the temperature down, cool bath.
With cold water?
Cool water, yes.
Did it work?
Surely the host question is a confusing one for many parents. Does putting a feverish child in a cold bath really work?
说实话，孩子已经生病了，再给他用冷水澡洗的话，我觉得这不靠谱。
我觉得这样的话，反而让这个寒气呀、会更进入到这个体内。
小孩子感冒的时候不能洗冷水澡的。
你夏天的话，给他们再洗个热水澡，他就是可以完全出来就可以物理降温。
Many parents on the street have different opinions. Now let's ask doctors.
With cold water?
Cool water, yes.
Did it work?
It worked, but it was very uncomfortable.
Till the end of discussion, no consensus has been reached by the Chinese and Western medicine doctor. The Western medicine doctor holds that cold bath, though not very comfortable, can reduce the temperature in a physical way, while the traditional Chinese medicine doctor believes that cold bath is not a good idea since it only drives the coldness further inside the body. However, one thing's for sure, when a child from the first family got a fever, he was immediately put on an IV drip. That's not the right way. The second family chose to reduce the temperature by using a fever patch and took a close look at the child's situation after that. That's the correct choice from the perspective of Western medicine.
And I guess the other issue is with regard to the cause of the fever. For young babies, if the baby has a temperature, it's very important that they are medically assessed quickly. Because as I said, babies have an incompletely developed immune system. They can get very sick very quickly. For older children, the parent needs to make a judgment. Does the child look sick? Does the child get a bit better when you give them Panadol? Are they jumping all over the sofa once you've brought their temperature down? Or do they still look very, very unwell? And decide accordingly about who to seek medical attention from and when to do that.
Well, I think we understand now the causes of fever in children, as well as some of the treatments. But let's talk about prevention. How can we keep our children healthy so they won't have these colds and the fevers? Dr. Maya?
The very basis of immunisations is that we introduce a very small dose of a part of an organism, part of a virus or part of a bacteria into the child's blood system, and they are able to respond by producing antibodies. And the body has those antibodies so that next time they encounter that disease for real, they can fight it. Immunisations save lives. I would encourage parents to teach their children about washing their hands, about covering their mouth when they have a cough, and I would encourage all parents to keep their children in a smoke-free environment, because we know that children who are exposed to cigarette smoke are more inclined to have chest infections.
What other advice do you have for parents if their infant does have a fever? Should they go outside or should they keep the infant at home?
I would certainly think that a child who has a fever should not be in contact with other children. I guess for runny nose and cough there's a degree of personal choice. Coughs can be tricky because they can last for weeks. You can have a cough for 2 or 3 weeks after you've been infected with a virus, and obviously you can't keep a child home for 2 or 3 weeks just because they're coughing.
What about from your perspective, TCM, what are some preventions?
对于小孩子来说，一个增强抵抗力的方法就是让他们处在一个比较稳定的环境里面。这个稳定包括他们可能不会经常的去换学校啊，然后包括他们的父母，就是他知道他的父母可能是处在一个怎么样的生活方式里面，比如说1周休几天。我不知道在国外怎么样，在中国家庭里面就是可能是爸爸妈妈的父母会帮忙带孩子，那是不是比如说这一周是男方的父母带，那一周是女方的父母带，这样有交叉的情况，那对于小孩子一个心理的稳定度来说会比较差一点，这样的孩子可能会容易倾向得感冒。那还有一点我需要强调呢，就是中国古老的一句谚语：若要孩儿安，常带3分饥与寒。就是说，对于小孩子来说，增强他抵抗力一个最好的方法就是不要让他吃得非常饱，尤其是不要高能量、高蛋白质的东西每天都给他吃很多，这样会造成一个什么样的害处呢？就是它容纳到胃里面。中医讲起来要靠脾的能量去把它消耗掉。如果它一直吃的很多，那么我们的脾胃就会缺乏这个动力去把它消耗掉。那就像我刚刚说的，这个东西会积攒在身体里面，成为一个负能量，成为一个垃圾。
The TCM doctor has mentioned that children should only eat until they are 70% full, and they should only wear clothes until they are 70% warm. However, in Chinese families, it's very difficult to maintain this.
哎呦，你看，奶奶多喜欢你，你煮的都是好吃的菜。
奶奶，我现在不想吃。
你怎么不想吃呢？给点奶奶面子可不可以？她不想吃，不要给她吃了。你怎么不懂的啦？妈，这是给孩子补营养。
In a real Chinese family, the elderly will always prepare lots of tasty food for the children. They're afraid their children will suffer from hunger. Actually, doing so will affect the children's immunity. But many parents are still confused about it.
好好的孩子，让他饿着干什么啦？
这个要适度。
对于3分饥这个说法，我是比较理解的。但是对于三分寒这个说法，我想问问医生，到底应该是怎么做的？
很多家长他会觉得说，我要给小孩子穿得多一点，这样子他就是可以不会经常着凉。但实际上，如果给小孩穿得太多，但小孩子他是一直处在非常运动的一个状态，他会非常调皮，那他经常会出很多汗，比我们大人可能穿一样的衣服，他可能就会一身汗。当一身汗的孩子他平静下来的话，他就会。因为衣服是湿的，所以他得感冒的概率会比其他小孩子多一点。所以对小孩来说是，尽量穿的少，就是在可能的情况下，尽量穿的比大人少一点，这样对他的增强抵抗力有非常大的好处。
Something you both didn't say, which I'm very surprised, is what about sleep? Isn't sleep one of the best medicines? How long should children sleep when they're infants and young children? What do you recommend, Dr. Maya?
It's very individual. I think some families function very well with routine, and others prefer to be more flexible. Children do respond to a degree of routine, but it is important to, I guess, have a degree of flexibility in your child's lifestyle and to be more focused on how your individual child is going rather than following any particular kind of guide of number of hours.
And healthy sleep patterns, does that help increase the immunity?
It does make sense to follow a healthy lifestyle, to have a balanced, varied diet, to make sure we're getting enough sleep and to keep our stress levels at bay.
那你呢？你觉得小孩子的睡觉的时间有关系吗？
对于小孩子来说，如果保持充足的睡眠的话，他的抵抗力会好很多。其实这个不仅是对于小孩来说，对于大人也是这样子的。因为很多我们都会知道，如果说我们睡一觉睡得比较好，我们第二天精神状态会好，我们的活力会充足，我们的专注力会好很多。对于小孩子来说，8点钟左右，8、9点就是应该睡觉了。如果说小孩子能够经历这样一个比较长的睡眠，对他的一个激素水平的分泌也好，对他的一个抵抗力也非常的好。
When seeking medical advice, Ms. Gu learned much in terms of how to improve a child's immunity. Traditional Chinese medicine advises that once your child develops a fever, don't immediately use medicine. Traditional Chinese medicine massage is good for a child's health. When a child is sick, they should eat as light as possible. A child's environment should be as stable as possible. Let your child eat only to 70% full and wear clothes only to 70% warm. The West medicine doctor advises that common colds are signs of normal immune system. Cold baths are one way to lower body temperature. A balanced diet and good living habits are necessary. Children should get enough sleep. For more health information, please do join our WeChat. We will offer you some tips almost every day. You can search for our official account, ICS 养生东西方, or our ID, Ways to Wellness, or you may scan the 2-dimensional barcode on the screen.